Okay, this is going to be a follow-up video to the one I previously did about Pastor John MacArthur. This article here by Julie Roys. It says that MacArthur shamed excommunicated mother for refusing to take back child abuser. So I wanted to follow up with this, first of all, because of the feedback that I got from that video, but also because of something that Julie Roys posted today about an unofficial response from Phil Johnson, who's in the ministry at Grace Community Church. So we'll look at her tweet and what Phil Johnson said. But I do want to, off the bat, just give a little bit more follow-up to what I talked about in that last video. And if you haven't seen it and you want to check that out, I do give some analysis of this whole situation. But it's clear that when you give analysis like I did, it's often easy to come across in a way that you don't intend to, because I was kind of looking at the big picture, some lessons that I thought we could learn from this. Even, doing ministry, there are some really important lessons in this, certainly. But I do want to just respond here because, of course, this is a very emotionally charged kind of a situation, so people are reacting very strongly, and that's understandable. And so I do want to say in this video very clearly that I do believe we should protect and support victims of abuse. There's no doubt about that. That is the right thing to do. And, I have had situations when I've been involved in ministry where people have been in abusive situations, and it's very important to be supportive of them and to protect them, to help them in any way that we can. And of course, in saying all of that, from everything that we're reading in that article, it really is sad to see the things that Eileen has experienced, and I know a lot of people are praying about that, and we should be very sympathetic to the difficulties and sad things that people have experienced. And yes, in church, sometimes we are dealt with in ways that are not fair. That is not a good thing. So that leads me to another thing I want to say here, that the church really should respond to this situation. I'm not sure exactly the response that they're going to give. We'll see what Phil Johnson says here, or if they will even definitely give a response. But I do think that it would be really helpful and wise for the church to respond, and in any way that they have done something wrong, for them to rectify that and to deal with the situation. Now, all of that being said, I still feel like I need to say this, that no matter what a church does in a situation like this, it doesn't mean that it's going to appease everybody or make everybody satisfied. Even if the church really tries to do the right thing, it doesn't mean that it's going to be to everybody's standard of what they think ought to be done. So that is where I think not everybody is going to see this the same way. But absolutely, I just wanted to make sure I made those things clear in follow-up to my other video, that we should be protective and supportive of victims of abuse. And I think in a situation like this, it would be good for the church to respond, to make some sort of a response. So on that note, let's look at Julie Roy's tweet. So this was posted today as I'm recording this. She says, Phil Johnson has unofficially responded to my article. So I want to emphasize this. This is an unofficial response. There has not been an official response given by Grace Community Church. But she says it's an unofficial response, and she says Phil minimizes offense, 20 years old, evades responsibility, doesn't pertain to me in any way, attacks Accuser, career muckraker, so that's what he's saying about Julie Roys, the reporter, and attacks many of you, screeching tweets from the survivor community. So I know just in the way that she's presented that, that's going to be something that's going to rile up a lot of people, but this is how she sees it, that he's really making excuses and not owning up to the severity of the situation. But this is the post that she actually is referring to. It's from Expository Parenting, and she gives a screenshot here, so I will read this. It says, many of you have questions concerning the Julie Roys story released this week concerning John MacArthur. As we abide by Proverbs 18:17, I reached out to Phil Johnson, and he provided the following comments to consider. Note, this is not in any form of official statement from GCC. So that's important. We keep emphasizing that everybody understands this is not an official statement. It is possible that Grace Community Church will give an official statement on this whole situation. This is not an official statement, but this is what Phil Johnson, who is connected with Grace Community Ministry, Grace to You, this is what he said. I haven't even had a chance to read Ms. Roy's column yet. She deliberately posted it to coincide with the start of the Shepherds Conference, which isn't completely over until after church tomorrow. She is writing about a 20-year-old discipline case that I had no involvement in. It doesn't pertain to me in any way, though she always attaches my name to pretty much everything she does. A friend of mine who is both an elder and an attorney with a special interest in defending real victims is investigating the case. Now, that's an interesting phrase I know a lot of you are going to pick up on, where he says defending real victims. I think the reason he's saying that is because there can be people who are false accusers who say that they are a victim when in fact they're not. But anyway, he's saying that there is an attorney and elder who's a friend of his who has a special interest in defending real victims, and that this person is investigating the case. I don't know whether the church will make a statement, and if so, when. So that's important to see here too, that Phil Johnson, who's obviously very integrated in that ministry, he himself doesn't know if the church is going to make a statement. Personally, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point they do publicly deal with this situation, because it seems to me like it's being talked about quite a bit. And so I think that they will probably respond in some way publicly. But again, no one knows that for sure. But I would be in favor of them publicly making a statement about this and dealing with the situation. And then the last paragraph here, he says, but I'm disinclined to think all of the noise about it represents a legitimate desire to know the truth, because of all the screeching tweets from the survivor community calling for a halt to Shepherds Conference, while someone gives a speedy answer to a piece written by a career muckraker who has proven to be inaccurate and misinformed in the past. If they want GCC to respond, they need to give more objective people an opportunity to investigate the case. So that's Phil Johnson's opinion about this whole situation. One thing he points out here is he doesn't think there's a legitimate desire to know the truth. Now, I get where he's coming from. I think there are people who just attack that ministry a lot. On the other hand, I think there are a lot of people who really want to just know the truth. But yeah, there is a distinction to be made there between people who are just attacking and who have a vendetta or a real hang-up, and people who really just want the truth and really want reconciliation and restitution to be made. And then he also refers to Julie Roys here as a muckraker who has proven to be inaccurate and misinformed in the past. Now, obviously, this is from his perspective, and there's so much you could get into here in terms of, how you might look at all of this. I don't have a problem really with someone doing reporting on a situation as long as they are being factual. I do think that the difficulty is, even when you're trying to do good journalism, is that still sometimes you don't see every side to a situation. You don't see everything as clearly as you want to. And actually, someone pointed out on my previous video that they were saying I'm not completely objective, that I have biases. And I would admit to that, but I think reporters do as well. All that being said, I think over time, as we examine things, as we listen to various people talk about an issue, especially the people who are involved, it does help us get closer to the truth. So that's my follow-up to the last video. I hope that this was helpful in some way, and also lets you know a little bit more about where things are at right now in terms of the information that is out there. If you have any comments or follow-up questions, please leave that in the comment section below. But thank you so much for taking some time to listen to some more of my thoughts on this, brought to you from A Frisch Perspective.